Hi Tekken players, Editor Beige Master from the future. One thing just to mention before I do this video, something I forgot to say at the very start, just to make it very clear, this guide is designed for very new King players, not veterans who know all this. So if I'm sort of going over a lot of stuff that a lot of you really sort of skilled King mains know, you feel free to ignore it. My channel is always around sort of trying to help those who are trying to get better in the game who don't necessarily know this, and this is something that I've been working on fairly recently, trying to get my King to be stronger. So if you want to see a really in-depth guide and really nerdy detail, then go and check out someone like Margin. But this is just to help you new players out with this particular move. Anyway, I'll shut up now and let's crack on with it. Hey Tekken players, hope you're all doing well. So this video I'm going to talk about what is arguably King's second best move. I'd say joint second, just for the record. This is his best move, down forward 2, because it's a 13 frame mid counter hit launcher for massive damage, which shouldn't exist in Tekken 8, I'm not going to lie. So that's his best move. I would say this is possibly his second best move, although I think joint with what I'm about to say, because again, this is so useful for certain situations when you just need that need those frames to be able to land the heat engager. However, the move I'm going to talk about is this. So I don't know the name of the move, but basically that's King's down pack 1+2 muscle armor. Now, I didn't mention it when I did my day one sort of all the King's best moves. I didn't include it, and there's a good reason why. The main reason is because I didn't really know, I hadn't used it yet because it was still very early in Tekken 8. This is a brand new move for Tekken 8, right? And secondly, to be completely honest, I did know it existed, but I didn't know how to utilize it. And I'm only really starting to get the hang of it now after a lot of grinding. And the more I use it, I can't lie, this move has basically carried me up to Busin. And on one account, I'm actually tickling, Tekken King. And I know for some of you, that might be a bit like whoop-de-doo. But honestly, for me, I've never been a super strong player. I've never had the time. So to get that high up in ranked is pretty good. And like I said, I'll get into this more. It's not brain dead. You do have to understand how it works. It's not just one of those moves that, like for example, Dragunov's, quad circle forward or four. I can't remember it's forward about any his sneak forward, the big kick. You know the one I mean. Or Jin's down 2, or any of these kind of like instant win buttons. It's not like that. You have to be smart, and I'll get into it as we go. But it's honestly, as a King main, if you play, in Tekken 8, you have to know how to use this. It's so good. You'll see the John, who's probably arguably the best King player in the world, he uses this so well. But they all do. You'll see Margin, you'll see Jasandi, you'll see Dr. Jake Man, Fedra, you name it, they will use this move. So let's talk about, first of all, why it's so good, and I'm going to talk about how to use it, because it is kind of situational, and I'll bring at the end a few reasons when you should not use it, because it does have weaknesses and we do need to address them. Okay, so let's talk about it in terms of why this move is so good. Well, just to make it clear, the reason why he has this, because I've had some people in my Discord argue that this move is broken. The reason why he has this, because King's backdash, even single backdash isn't too bad, but if you try to Korean backdash, I can do it very well, but it's rubbish. And his sidestep is also really not good. He's too big. His sidestep is awful. Now Jack, for example, has a terrible sidestep, but he has a really good backdash. King just has nothing. He doesn't have any movement. So traditionally, when I tried to step like incoming pressure, I'm just getting clipped all the time, and it's because this is the solution. You need to use this. This is your keep out option. So that's kind of the context, and it's so unique for King. Like no one else has this, apart from Giga's had a similar thing in Tekken 7, but King has stolen it. So why is this so good? Okay, well, first of all, it's a power crush, right? But it's very unique. It's not like any other power crushes, and let me demonstrate why. So I've got Hwoang to do down forward 4-4, okay, classic round start. Now watch what happens if I try to do a bog standard power crush against it, okay? Oops, if I actually get him to select it. So this is what happens if I try to do a classic power crush against this move. Okay, that didn't quite work. Come on. There you go. You see? Now the reason why that launched me is because it's got a low So the first low kick counter hits the power crush, and then the next one's guaranteed I get launched. Okay, and that is true for all other power crushes. If basically it has a low in it, the move that you're use against power crush, it will trigger any counter hit or launching properties. Now watch the same thing, but if I do this instead. And you see, I still get hit by it, but note I'm no longer launched. That was a Atlas hammer. See? And there's the reason why that is because technically I'm not attacking, I'm standing here. And that is so crucial because the classic way to beat power crushes is to go with lows that have a nice juicy counter hit property, or you do throws. So for example, if Hoang's spamming backlash, what I would do with King traditionally is either do this for that sort of counter hit, or I would do this. And if he's spamming backlash, his power crush, that'll work, but this doesn't. So that's number one, and it's a very, very unique. So it's really strong, The only way you can really counter it, you say lows will break it, but you'll only get the low damage, and throws obviously become unbreakable. The other reason why it's particularly interesting as far as power crush go is because, watch this. If I get Hoang to play along. Hang on. See? It's homing. Really homing. See, he's walking all the way around. Whoops. Come on. And it will... And I don't think, apart from maybe backlash as an example, but most power crushes, especially if their heating gauges are very linear, so again that's the way that they're balanced. But this has got really, really good homing properties, and that is pretty good for King because his homing, now that throws have lost their homing properties, his homings aren't that good. I mean, basically he has this and this, and they're on paper they're good moves, but they're both fairly slow, and certain characters, particularly Ling and Zafina, they'll go under this. Their mids, well, sorry, I tell you, like, they don't, this has been lowered, this has been improved, but they'll go under this. Like, yeah, Ling can legit duck under that when she's in AOP. So his homing's not that good. So to have this as a homing option, which will hit, is pretty damn awesome. And again, very, very unique. So that's why it's kind of very, very specific. And as you notice, you don't have to pull the trigger. You can just hold it. Okay, it's only if you press 2 that you pull it. So again, you won't get counter hit out of anything if you don't commit. So just to kind of show you what I mean, if I do pull the trigger too early, and this is where it needs a little bit of brains, which we'll get to. If I do this properly, you see now because I pulled it straight away, that low now counter hits me. See, I'm deliberately pulling it straight away. So this is what I mean in terms of it's not a win button. You does require a little bit of, you have to have good understanding and knowledge of certain character moves and certain character strings to know how long do I hold this for. But in theory, and again, if I've got this up properly, I haven't labbed this officially, but you can hold this for a stupid amount of time and absorb a lot of attacks. Let's see. Let's see if this works. I'm genuinely curious to know. So. Okay, I pulled it a bit too early there. I don't know why he's ducking at the end. Makes him holding it. Okay, so I thought I might be able to hold this for the entire string. But you can see how long I can hold it for. So I can hold that for so long and I'm not taking that much damage. So really, really, really long strings like that. The classic sort of, that's such kind of a new, scrub killing string, because that's basically just forward. That's just, sorry, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. It's a bit like Eddie, with 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. And Victor with 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. All these strings where they have like multiple hits that anyone can just press buttons and, spam them. This will hold so many of them. And you can just sit there standing. Don't try to avoid it. Just stand there, take it, and then like, you done? Good. And then hit him with it. So, So that's what I mean when I say to use this properly, it does require good knowledge of the cast. At least they're kind of most spammable moves that they're going to use. And in certain matchups, it's ludicrously helpful. So, you know, so let me just show you another example of where it's good. So I've already discussed things. Basically, where this is really good is moves that normally have good range and are, you know, plus and block mids. This is a great way to sort of counteract those. So think you know, Dragonos, you know, while running 2 is a classic example. Or maybe not plus and block, but you think Demon Paws, that, you know, they're very, very long range mids with pushback, so they're hard to punish, right? And Hoang, again, I think I've got him set for this. Let me just check, make sure he's doing the right one. Okay, no, it's not that. Go on. Okay, I thought I had him. Maybe because I haven't recorded him. So I tried to get him doing the. Let me just get him to do it, and I'll show it. I mean, because Hoang has a really, really ridiculous. Let me just check. Is this? Is it this? Okay, there it is. Okay. So let me just record it then. Start recording. Oops. Okay, it's forward. I'm not a Hoang main. Apologies. Right, record again. There we go. Okay. So this, for example, is an absolutely brutal move because the way you traditionally would get around Hoang is you would sidestep. However, you'll note that this move is homing. You see? That's a homing plus unblock heat engager. Right? That's a broken move that Hoang should not have. However, we now have a counter. Because we can just absorb it, you see? So you see, in certain matchups and certain moves, this is vital by way of counter tool. Another one you could maybe do is, like, say Hoang approaching with his firecracker. So certain matchups like that, it's, you know, it's really, really good. So I think I've explained now why it's so good. So let's just talk about briefly kind of how to use it. This is the kind of like more easy stuff. So you've seen how to do it. You hold it, you wait for the move to finish, you absorb it, and then you pull the trigger. When you pull the trigger, just look how plus this is. Right, look how long Hoang is holding his head there. It's something like, I don't know the actual frames because it says on the marker plus 33, but I don't think it is. I think because it's just, that's how the fast move is. But you see how long it's like. It's probably, if it's on par with a heat engager, I think that's plus 17 off the top of my head. I can't remember exactly. But the point is, they're standing right next to you and they have no frames to work with. So you basically can do whatever you want. What I tend to do 9 times out of 10 is I will go for forward 2. And the reason why is because it's a win on block, and it's also a win on hit because it's King's plus 7 on block and forces crouch mid, which is this. So I would go for that because then if they duck, you get a free ground throw, and you'll see on a stage like this. So you do this. And you see why that's good, because now we have a full combo. So I would always go for that because, and even if they block it, like I say, it's massive plus. So you still got your turn, and it does good chip damage. So just do that. If you're feeling frisky, an alternative, you could go for the old crouch dash throw, or alternatively, go for a Jaguar mix-up. Oops. That's what I was trying to do. Go for something like this. Because again, they just have no frames. So they've either gonna, they've got to either, they basically have to stand there and take it or duck. And again, both of these have, they've got options if they duck. So that's kind of like, that's what I would suggest, but you do what you want. I mean, like I said, they are standing right next to you. So any throw is, or check them with a mid is the way to go. But it's just too good an opportunity to waste is what I'm trying to say. So that's what I would do when landing it. Like I said, it's honestly, the hardest part of this is just learning when to pull the trigger. And like I said, that is very it's very character dependent. It's also very player dependent. Because basically a smart opponent, if you're here and you're spamming this, they know what you're trying to do and they will act accordingly. If they're a Dragunov player who's just autopiloting, you know, while running 2, then it's GG's because you'll just land it. But if they're clever, they'll think to themselves, oh no, hang on, I best try to go over low because otherwise I'm gonna get launched. And also just for the sake of completeness, because it's obviously a because it is a heat engager, you can use this as a you can use it as a heat dash, I think. At least I thought you could. There we go. Yeah, so you gotta commit to it. Right, so engage heat. So you know, combo, whatever, whatever you want to do. And it also means if they you know, if they block it, you get plus frames. So that's really good. And then I keep stressing it's mid, so they can't duck it. So that's just so I've gone over everything. So those are your options about if you know, how you want to do if you pull the trigger. But the other thing this move's really good for, and this is why I was using it at first, because this is a good thing to do when you're sort of learning, you know, how to do it, is if you've seen my original King guide, I've talked about all you're trying to do all the time is try to set up throws. You're doing moves to, you know, anything that can sort of set the throw up. That's kind of that's the nature of the game. But with King, he doesn't actually have many. He doesn't really have many plus frames to be able to do that. He's kind of really only kind of plus and block. His best plus and block is this, but this has no range. See, so one backdash and that'll whiff. Although doing pretty well here. I'm sure they buffed it. Maybe it's because Hwang's got quite a big hurt box. I don't know, but yeah. So setting up throws, it very soon becomes very obvious. Like for example, people will know if you do this, you're going to throw afterwards. So they'll duck and they'll get, you know, they'll get predictable. People know they love to throw after this. So again, they'll duck and then you get launched. All the classic throw mix-ups suddenly become predictable. So this is great because this we can buffer throws from. And it kind of, rather than earning our plus frames, we just take the hits, okay? And then we can still throw afterwards, right? So we sort of buffer into throw like that. Oops. I want some blue sparks. Oh, I can't get them. I don't know why. I always find tier 1 twists are the hardest to get blue sparks out of. There we go. So all you can do is if they're spamming in your face, or even if you're just waiting there, you just do this, because you know if they attack, as long as you time the throw to come out after the after you finish doing the, you know, this, you won't get counter hit. That's the cool thing. So you can basically stand there and be like, it forces them to respect you because they can't come in. They can't come in and you know, try to attack you because they know it's going to get absorbed. So they stand there, and you can just throw them. And you know, and the great thing is if they know they're gonna, if they suspect you're going to throw and they duck, that's a mid. And so that'll land anyway. And again, if they know it, you know, if they're an opponent who knows their stuff, they won't duck you if you're doing this because they know this will land. So you know, that's kind of like another really, really cool way of doing it. It's kind of like it's just like a more sort of Tekken 8 way of forcing, rather than trying to go for throw setups like this into throw, or you know, this, or whatever it is, that classic. You just force it upon them like that. Trying to get blue sparks again. But anyway, so that's really, really good. I can't stress that enough. And what I tend to do, and I won't be able to now to do in a live recording, I like to do is a little drill. I like to see if I can get all 3 blue sparks out of this. That's 1, 2. Ah, no, see, I can never get the 3rd one. But never mind. So that's a really good one to practice. Just practice that and then buffering throws. Trust me, it's incredibly effective. And then finally, the thing just to mention is, just bear in mind, if you, while you're doing this, if you absorb an attack that's launch punishable, then you can still launch them for it, right? So let me just show you, for example. Oops, gotta do a bit quicker than that. Can't see that's punish. Okay. So maybe this is a bad example. But something like a Death Fist or anything, you know, has a very low recovery time. You can still, oops. You can still launch them afterwards, which is kind of cool. Like I say, I thought that'd be enough frames, but clearly it isn't. But obviously, if they did this, that'd be enough to get the heat engager anyway. So anyway, that's pretty good. Now I'm gonna go over its weaknesses and when you shouldn't use it. And to be honest, there's not many. This is one of them. This is very, very niche depending on the character. But the only downside is if you're at someone's back and you do this, you'll note it won't. Okay, it did that time. Maybe I wasn't quite the way around. Let me get Hoang to really, really face the other way. So opponent direction back. Okay. There, see? If they're right at their back, it won't. You'll get the hit, but it won't engage. Whereas I think, let's see. Yeah, you see? So the weird thing is, heat engages like this, they kind of auto-align. You know how he turns around there? So it's back, but as soon as you land it, they're suddenly facing front. So if you sidewalk someone, you can do that. However, this, it doesn't. I don't know if that's a bug, and they'll fix it, or whether that is the design. But certain matchups, that's really annoying. In particular, it's really annoying against Lily, because what they'll do is they'll do the cartwheel towards you. They're facing their back. You absorb the first hit, and you try to punish them, and you only get that, which is really frustrating. So that's a niche thing, but just so I've kind of mentioned it. There are more general times when you really don't want to use this move. Put you back right way. First of all, do not use this move again. If you do, be very careful using this move in the King Mirror, because what happens is, and I've literally done this with other King mains, we both started around like with this, and then whoever's done the throw first will win, because obviously if they're spamming Power Crush, you can't break throws if you get landed. So yeah, so against King, this is quite dangerous, because you're standing there like, all right, try to do a keep out, and then they'll just literally run from across the stage and just do that, and you can't break it. You just stand there like an idiot. So yeah, I wouldn't use it in the King Mirror match that often unless you're, you know what you're doing. So that's number one. Number two, if your opponent has heat, and especially if they're at the end of their bar, do not spam this, because it will beat the Power Crush. And again, just so I've kind of demonstrated the fact, I have to get to record this live, but that should be fine. Okay, so if we get a manual, and then this. Okay. Right, so now if I just show you what happens if we try and do this. See? Because basically heat smashes break Power Crushes, including that. So don't do that if they have heat, and especially if they're near the end of their bar, or if it's a character like Jin, who has like a ridiculously good heat smash because it wall splats from 8 miles away. So just be wary that don't spam it in that situation. And the other one to not spam it is if they have rage, because again, I'm gonna have to put opponent rage on. Okay, again just to show you. So if we do record. Okay, record that movement. That's fine. It's still going apparently. Okay. Right, so now if we going to do it. See, again it breaks through. So if they have rage, don't spam it. Is the other answer. So that's the kind of like golden rules. And again, it's something I have to remind myself, because I'm quite terrible at sort of getting near the end of the round and thinking, oh, I was just gonna play safe, and then you end up getting like eating a rage out, which is no good. Anyway, so I hope that's helped you guys. That's kind of a summary of, I can't stress enough how important it is to try to practice this. And the only way you can really practice, unfortunately, is you just got to do it in the heat of battle. There's only so much you can do in practice mode, because yeah, you kind of just have to sort of, know what opponents like to do. But like I said, look out for certain moves like this, because Hoang's love doing stuff like this. Okay, that's the wrong one, sorry. Is it this one? Ah, no, hang on, it'll be one above, sorry. Oops. Yeah, Hoang's love this because it's a godlike move. And the same with like Dragonos with while running 2, they love that. It's the same with you know, Claudio while running 2. Anything which is a really good approach tool. Oops, whiffed a bit too early there. Hang on. There we go. Just practice on perhaps stuff like that, like, you know. Oops. Anyway, you get the general gist. So that might be where it's worth practicing. But it really, the reality is you've got to just do it. You know, you've got to practice in real matches to kind of get an idea. Just basically it's a great way of conditioning your opponent to not press buttons, which in Tekken 8 is ever more tricky to do. But this is one of the best ways of doing it. So, and like I said, maybe the other thing to do is just practice, like, seeing if you can get like consistent good grabs out of it. You know, that's another thing to do, because you can buffer these. I mean, you can buffer anything from it. But obviously grabs is the obvious to go for. Still can't get this. It's really annoying me. There we go. Don't like not getting all the blue sparks. But yeah, that's some good drills to do. But you just got to get out there and try it in your matches. So I hope this helped you guys. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to go through in terms of King stuff. And I look forward to seeing the next one.